Now, let me ask you this. If your parents sat you down and said, hey, we need to have the talk, I bet there's one thing that you would be like, oh, are we really going to, is that what we're going to talk about? And that is sex. It's such a daunting thing for, I want to say, for both the parents and the child to think about talking about with each other. But I think it's such an important conversation to have. In your work and in your experience, Millicent, have you found that adolescents have the freedom to have these open conversations with their parents? Do you think that that's something that they're doing?
Well, sex is an interesting topic, and I'll give you an experience I had some few weeks ago. I happen to teach life skills to these young boys and girls, and there is a topic on sex education. So this was a Form 1 class. So I introduced the topic by writing it on the whiteboard. And the reaction was, no, teacher, please don't talk about it. Don't even think about it. No, it's wrong. Some were even shying away. Some were covering their faces and their mouths. And I realized it's a topic that parents have really shied away from talking about to their young people. Yet these same young people are the ones who are going online, they're experimenting with so many things, and it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge, but it's very important that the parents start this conversation as early as the kicking off of puberty. As early as that, the conversation should start going.
Because this is the point at which, for a lot of boys and girls, that they start to explore their bodies sexually.
Yes.
Is masturbation rampant? Is it something that's inevitable for teens? And is it something that should be part of this conversation that parents have?
When we talk about masturbation, I will look at it mostly from the boys' side, okay? As they develop their physical development, young boys experience a lot of erections. Whether aroused or not, they experience these erections. And therefore, they get to a point where they want to explore. They want to know what will happen when I masturbate. And so you'll find most of them will end up masturbating to get the sexual gratification, because they are experiencing erection. Also, the biological cycle of the sleep cycle. Men experience erections from 4 a.m. in the morning when they wake up. So you'll find young people at this particular phase, they really don't know what to do, and most of them will end up masturbating. Yes, and for them to masturbate, it's a way of releasing sexual tension that is built up. Yes.
But is it important to also have this conversation with girls? Because I think it's also a period in which a lot of girls are curious about their bodies and exploring pleasure in that sense. So is that a conversation that you've had with girls, or would you even encourage parents to have that with girls?
I would encourage parents to have this conversation with their girls, because then at adolescence, someone doesn't understand that their bodies are going through an emotional roller coaster and all that. And some of them will realize, oh, when I touch you, I feel this pleasure. So it's very, very important that parents keep the conversation going for both boys and the girls about masturbation.
So I have one more question about masturbation before we move on. Do you think it is healthy to masturbate, or what's your position on that?
For me to answer these questions, there are different views that people have. Okay. Number one, for one to justify masturbation, or for one not to justify masturbation, there are factors that are involved. Number one, your religious beliefs. Okay. If you believe, or your religious beliefs do not allow you to masturbate, then this person will look at it as a sin. Okay. Number two, your personal values. Do your values allow you to do it? Okay, and the consequences. Number three, culture. For the African culture, it is totally wrong to masturbate. So once these factors are put into place, then a person is at this particular point of asking themselves, should I not? And if I do, what are the consequences? If I do not do, what are the consequences? So you're an individual in the middle, trying to fight with your beliefs, with your religion, with culture, and with yourself. So what if I just I live my own life? I do it without caring what religion says, without what people will say, and alike.
Interesting. So if parents are having this conversation with their children about sex, what are some of the points that they should absolutely bring up when it comes to, you know, the responsibilities that come with having sex? What are some of those things that you think parents must include in this conversation with their children?
First, parents have to explain to the teenagers whatever change they're experiencing physically. Okay, the reproductive system. They have to let them know about the reproductive system. They have to let their children know at this particular stage. For example, if you're a girl, when you start menstruating, then it only means if you engage in sex, you will get pregnant. And also issues to do with sexually transmitted infections, issues to do with teenage pregnancies, issues to do with abortion, issues to do with responsibilities as young people. For example, if you're a young person and you're engaging in sexual activities, unprotected sex, you definitely know that you'll end up getting pregnant as a teenager. So these are the conversations that must come up strongly from the parents, and they must let them know that if you do this, because I believe every action has a consequence. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that they understand what they're getting themselves into. Okay, so going back to how to communicate with your teens or your adolescents, how do you deal with a teenager whose mood swings seem to be up and down? That one minute you left the house saying, bye, have a great day, and the next moment someone is not talking to you for days. How do you deal with that as a parent, or even just a sibling, someone else living in that house? Do you just let them be, or do you reach out?
When you get someone who is going through an emotional, I would say it's like 1 minute they're up there, the other minute they're down there, and this is a person, one, could be looking for attention. Okay, are you able to reach out? And I would say the moment you take a back seat, there are so many things that go on through the mind of a teenager. Number one, maybe they're sad, they're mad at you, but deep inside they're telling themselves, I think no one loves me in this house. Okay, I think I'm not worth living. I think no one likes me. So in their mind, that is what they are thinking. So they're expecting you as an individual, you know what they are thinking, and therefore they will got into their own corner of isolation. And once they're in their own corner of isolation, this is where depression comes in. This is where anxiety comes in. And these are mental health problems that come during teenage. A lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, because then they feel no one is reaching out to them. So it's very important, once your teenage boy or girl is experiencing these mood swings and mood changes and isolation, it's very important for you to reach out. Some of them might not open up. Some of them might feel like you're not the right person to talk to. Then if the conversation is going on, are you able to tell them, look here, can you talk to so-and-so? Okay, can you open up to this particular person? And you'll find this is a stage where parents recommend a lot of counseling for their teenagers so that they can open up and share. For them, they prefer talking to someone who is not family to them, to someone who is totally different, because they know if I open up to this person, they're more likely to understand me than people I live with in the house. Yes.
Okay. And do you find that parents sometimes find it difficult to know what's a mood swing and what's maybe stepping into depression? Is that line easy to identify?
It's not really an easy line to identify. However, if you are a parent who is so connected to your children, you can easily tell. For example, I had a case of a young girl. Now, this young girl had gone through so much, and now she had now transferred to the school where I work, and she was going through so many issues from the previous school. And then the parents were like, we do not understand this girl. But the parents had a background information of the mood swings of this girl. The parents are quite aware that we know our girl. She's a jovial girl, but there are times where she has a lot of mood swings. And now that we are talking about puberty and maturation, especially for the girl child, where that period of menstruation, they go into a lot of mood swings. So if you're keen enough with your child, you will be able to tell that this child is emotional because, number one, they are at that particular point of their usual monthly cycle. If you're keen enough, you'll tell there is something totally wrong apart from the usual that I know. And that is a point where you have to bond. You need to bond with your child to be able to tell that, hey, this is not normal and this is normal. Yeah, so that relationship has to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the key thing here is to just have a strong and like a strong relationship with your child, one where you're listening, you're paying attention to not just what they're saying, but how they're acting, micro expressions, you know, just to really take a keen interest in your child. That's how they open up. That's how you end up knowing what they're doing at the parties, what they're curious about,
Yes.
and ultimately eases up your relationship during this phase,
Yes,
right?
yes,
All
very
right.
true, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Miss. And this was really good. This was great. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you do have a teen, an adolescent in your home, and you've got other questions that you'd love for us to touch on, maybe things that you've been struggling with as a parent, or even a sibling, then please hit us up on Living with S on our social media. You can even DM us if you think that there's something that we didn't touch on, but that you would like to see talked about on this show. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. For now, I'm going to love you and leave you. Goodbye, everybody. And thank you to Parquet and by Radisson as well. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye.